everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful v-neck tank top. So this is an inspiration from two of my old designs. That includes the Viva crochet top that you people loved so much. I've received so much love from that design, and it inspired this design as well. But we also have the granny stitch crochet top that we just did in one of our previous videos. I'll be attaching photos so that you can see the relationship between the designs that I'm talking about. These are the two tops that inspired this particular design. Reason being, the Viva tank top is one of those tops that you can wear anywhere and feel comfortable and confident, and you can wear your bra in it or a vest, something like an input to feel comfortable in this design. And then when it comes to the granny stitch top, I received comments and DMs from people who wanted to try out this original version of this top, and they were like, maybe if you could close up the back. And that's exactly what we are going to do in this video. We are going to create a back coverage so that you can comfortably wear this crochet v-neck tank top, and you can also make it a halter neck tank top. Yes, I'll be giving both options within this video. So if you don't like the v-neck, don't worry about that. We shall be changing that v-neck into something flat so that we can cater for all options or all preferences for this design. So for the materials, I will be using this Alize cotton gold yarn, and I just needed about 1 ball total to make mine, but that design is for a size around medium, and of course also small, extra small, you'll need approximately 1 ball. But just to be on a safe side, if you're making for a larger size, just have 2 balls at hand. Each ball is 100 grams and 330 meters or 361 yards. So if you go out looking for substitute yarn, just keep in mind at least have about 600 yards in order for you to have enough yarn to finish up your project. And then I also used a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and a measuring tape. The measurement that we shall be considering for this particular design is the bust circumference, and then of course the length of your top from the top of your shoulder all the way down to where you want your top to stop. But mainly the bust circumference is going to be the one that's going to determine the panels and all that. So this piece is going to be worked in 2 pieces that will be later joined, and then it also has a beautiful scalloped edge at the base of the top. And then when it comes to the upper bit, I just decided to keep it plain and simple, and the effect that was created by the granny stitch is exactly what I went for, and I left it as it was. So let's jump right into the video. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, and in this video it's paired with the granny stripes crochet pants. I'll be leaving the video link behind in the description box as well. Alright, so you're going to grab your hook and yarn, your 3.5 millimeter crochet hook and your yarn, and we're going to start off with a slip knot. After your slip knot, we're going to work this piece from bottom upwards. It's a bottom up design. So after your slip knot, you're going to make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're going to go into the very first chain that you made, this one, and you're going to place a total of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, a double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's in the US terms at least. So at this point you have your 3 double crochets placed into the very first chain, and then you have your chain of 4 here. That chain of 4 at the beginning of the row counts as a double crochet, chain 1. Now after this you're going to make a chain of 2, and then go into the same exact chain and place 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And just like that, we have these 3 double crochets here, and then another group of 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2 space, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and then double crochet into the same exact chain to balance what we have at the beginning. Remember, I told you the chain of 4 counts as a double crochet chain 1, and we end our row with a chain 1, 1 double crochet into the same chain. So this is our triangular shape. I hope you can see it. And then we're going to go on to row 2. For row 2, you're going to start off with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1. Turn your work, yarn over into the very first chain 1 space. You're going to go in there with a total of 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. I hope you still remember how to make the double crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the chain 2 space, you're going to go in there with a shell. So you're going to place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. So for this pattern, a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. Just like that, we are done with our shell into the chain 2 space. You're going to make a chain of 1 and skip over the next 3 double crochets and into the last chain 4 space. You're going to go in there with a total of 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the same space you're going to place 1 more double crochet to balance what we have at the beginning. Remember, we start with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, and then we end with a chain 1, 1 double crochet. So that is how we balance both sides of the triangle. The middle of the triangle is along this line. So we have the same exact thing happening on this half as well as the half on the opposite side. So let's go on to row 3. You're going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1. Turn your work. You're going to place 3 double crochets in the very first chain 1 space next to the chain of 4. So that is our 3 double crochets in the very first chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip the next 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space. You're going to place 3 double crochets. So for this pattern, you should notice that we are not going into the stitches, we are going into the spaces. So this is a chain 1 space, and one thing you have to note is each chain 1 space gets 3 double crochets, apart from the ones on the edge. Those ones are different, but along the side of the triangle, each chain 1 space gets 3 double crochets, and every after the 3 double crochets you make a chain of 1, and then this is a chain 2 space, so it gets a shell as I had mentioned earlier on. So you will place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. That is a shell into the chain 2 space, and the chain 2 space is only found in the middle of the triangle. That's where we place a shell. So this will bring us to the opposite side. Once you get done with your shell, you make a chain of 1, and into the chain 1 space, remember I mentioned that you place 3 double crochets only. So after your 3 double crochets, and I've also mentioned that the chain spaces on the edge are quite different. So when you're ending your row, after these 3 double crochets, you're going to make a chain of 1, and then into the last chain 4 space, you're going to go in there with 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and then make a chain of 1 and 1 more double crochet into the same exact space to balance what we have at the beginning of the row, which is the chain 4 here. I hope now everything makes sense. We are trying to build our triangle. As you can see here, we had a very little triangle before, and now it's growing into something visible. Now I'm going to show you one more time, and this is the row that you're going to keep repeating. I'm going to explain to you one more row. You start off with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, turn your work. Into the chain 1 space right next to the chain 4, you're going to go in there with 3 double crochets. And after 3 double crochets, you always make a chain of 1. And then you're going to go into the chain 1 space. Remember, each chain 1 space along the side of the triangle gets 3 double crochets. And then after the 3 double crochets, you make a chain of 1. This is a chain 1 space, so it has to get only 3 double crochets. And then make a chain of 1. And then this is a chain 2 space at the top of the triangle, so it will get a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, because this is a shell, so that's why we're chaining 2 here, and then 3 more double crochets into the same space. And just like that, we've crossed over to the second half of the triangle. And then after the shell, you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the next chain 1 space, you're going to place 3 double crochets. After this, you're going to make a chain of 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat that until you place 3 double crochets in the last chain 1 space before the last chain 4 space. So this is where we are right now. At this point, you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the chain 4 space here, you're going to skip over these 3 double crochets because I mentioned that we don't place anything in the stitches. So we're going into the last space here, which is the chain 4 space, and you're going to place 3 double crochets. Make sure you chain 1 before you place your 3 double crochets. And then make a chain of 1 and double crochet into the same exact space. So this is going to keep the base of our triangle flat. As you can see here, we have a triangular shape, and you're going to keep working this until the base of your triangle measures 1/4 of your bust circumference. So if you want a tight fitting for your top, you're going to consider this measurement stretched. If you even want a tighter piece, then you're going to overstretch this measurement. If you want a loose-ish fitting, just like we have for my top, that easy going, tank top, then you're going to consider this measurement without stretching, or just give it a slight stretch. That will give you that comfortable fitting. But if you want a tightly fitted top, then you're going to have to consider this measurement while stretching your piece at the base of the triangle. So I'm going to keep working mine until I get the measurement that I want. Now, I considered a measurement of 36 inches of bust circumference. Now, 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I'm going to make sure I have these 9 inches while stretched because I want mine to be tightly fitted. And as you can see, my piece was supposed to fit a bust circumference of 36, but if I put it on my dummy, which is a small, extra small, you can see the effect that it has created. It creates that easy fitting tank top. So if that's the look that you're going for, make sure you get 1/4 of your bust circumference at the base of the triangle without stretching. That's what I would advise you to do. If you want a tightly fitted top, then consider this measurement stretched out. So keep working this row again and again until your piece grows to the measurement that you want at the base of the triangle. 1/4 of your bust circumference, either when stretched or without stretching, depending on the fitting that you're going for. So Let me go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back when I have my measurement. Alright guys, we're going to keep repeating the row that I taught you, or the repeat row, until the base of our triangle can stretch to quarter of our bust circumference. So the bust circumference that I am considering this time is 9 inches, as you can see here. So this is going to vary depending on the yarn type that you used, the stretch of your yarn. So right now I have about 7.5, but it can stretch fully to 9 inches. If you want a tight fitting, make sure you consider this fully stretched. If you want kind of like a loose fitting, just give it a slight stretch. So you can see here, if it's still at 8 inches and it's not yet at quarter of your bust circumference, then you're going to keep working until you get to that point. So for me, I'm going to consider this piece while almost fully stretched. You see, if it goes beyond, then it will become a problem when dressing up. So I'm going to just give it a good stretch to get to my 9 inches. So the bust circumference, as I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, the bust circumference that I am considering is 36 inches, and 36 divided by 4 is 9. So once I get this to stretch to 9 inches, I am going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn and then pull through. So just like that, we are done with our very first piece. Now you're going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process. If you have 6 rows here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that means for my second piece, I should have the same exact number of rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this time around, you're going to make sure that this one, where you chained 1 and cut your yarn, your very first piece to make, you're going to go into the last stitch here before the chain 1 that you did, and then you're going to place your work so that the side that's still attached to the yarn ball, for the second panel, don't cut your yarn. This side is still attached to your yarn ball. So I'm going to get this loose end, go into the last stitch here, and then go into this chain for space, and then grab my yarn and then make a chain of 1, and then you can pull through. We shall weave this in later on to secure it even more, but right now what we are focusing on is to join the 2 panels together. Now if you take a measurement after joining the 2 panels, you should be able to get half of your bust circumference when stretched. As you can see, without stretching, I have about 16 inches. And when I stretch it, I should get to half of my bust circumference, which is 18 inches. And that is what I have right now. So make sure you make use of your measuring tape as much as you can so that you can get these measurements right. Once you get your desired measurements right, now we're going to go on to our next step. And this time around, we are not going to increase the base. Remember, we've already achieved half of our bust circumference at this point. And now we are going to go ahead and make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Turn your work. This time around, we are going to work across both panels. So after a chain of 3, this time we're not going to go into this very first space. You're going to go into the next chain 1 space. Skip over the chain 1 and the 3 double crochets and go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets. Chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat this until you get to the chain 2 space on top of the very first triangle, or the first section of the top, the first side, because now we have 2 sides. All right, so you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the chain 2 space, which should be the top of the first triangle, you're going to place a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Just like that. And then you're going to continue to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that until you get towards the middle where the 2 triangles join. All right, so let's see what we have right now. You can see the direction of our panel is already changing. So this will become more evident as we keep working more and more rows. So we are almost here in the middle section. So you keep working until you place 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space before the last 3 double crochets of the first triangle. So you can see what we have. Before the last 3, and then the chain space is here. So this time round, after these 3 double crochets, you're going to yarn over, preparing for a double crochet, and you're going to skip over all these stitches, the last 4 stitches on the first triangle, and skip the first 4 stitches of the second triangle, and go into the chain 1 space with 3 double crochets. This time we haven't chained 1 in between the 3 double crochet stitches. We've just crossed over. This will create this sort of opening, and that's okay. So from here you're going to just make a chain of 1 and 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're just going to repeat that until you get to the chain 2 space on top of the second triangle where you will place a shell. All right, so we've reached the chain 2 space, so I'm going to make a chain of 1, and then into the chain 2 space you place a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into the same exact space. So this brings us to the final side of our piece. So to work this, I'm going to just continue to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Now you're going to repeat that until we have our last 3 double crochets of the row, as well as the chain 4 at the end of the row. So you chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space until you place your last 3 double crochets in this space, this last chain 1 space, before the last 3 and then the chain 4. So from here you're going to, after these 3 double crochets, you're going to yarn over and go into the chain 4 space with 1 double crochet, just like that. So let's see the edge of our piece. You can see we've stopped extending the bottom length of our piece. So this is row 1, crossing over both panels. Now we're going on to row 2. For row 2, you're going to make a chain of 3, and this is going to be our repeat row until we get the length of the top that we want. The length is going to be measured from here all the way down. So this is going to be our repeat row, so pay attention. You make a chain of 3 and turn your work. Still, we are going to be working across both panels. So you skip over the first 3 double crochets and go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that until you get to the chain 2 space on top of the first triangle on one side of the top. So just like that, we've made it all the way to the chain 2 space here. I'm going to make a chain of 1, and into the chain 2 space I'm going to place a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And once you're done with that, this is what you're going to have. You can see we are getting a flat edge on the sides of our piece. So we're going to go all the way down with chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space. Repeat that all the way down until you place 3 double crochets in this chain 1 space, the last chain 1 space on the first side of the top, which is this one. All right, I've reached that point. I've just placed my last 3 double crochets in the last chain 1 space on the first side of our piece. Once you get this, you're going to skip over the next 6 double crochets. So you skip over this group and this group on the second side. And after the 3 double crochets, don't make a chain of 1. You're going to just yarn over and directly go into the next chain 1 space on the second side of your piece and place 3 double crochets. So just like that, we've crossed over, and make sure you don't make a chain of 1 here. So from here you're going to just continue to make a chain of 1 and 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space all the way up until the chain 2 space, which will receive a shell. So chain 1 into the chain 2 space, you're going to place a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into the same space, and then continue to place continue with chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, until you place 3 double crochets in the last chain 1 space of your row. All right, so I'm placing my last 3 double crochets in the last chain 1 space of my row. Remember, this is a chain 3 space. So after this, I'm going to skip over all the 3 double crochets, and on top of the chain 3, I'll go onto the top chain and place a double crochet. Make sure you don't chain 1 after these last 3 double crochets. So let's see what we have right now. Your work should look something like this. You can see we have a flat edge on the sides. So you're going to repeat this row 2 of working across both pieces, and keep working until you get the length of the top that you want. Remember, the length of the top that we are considering is measured from the top of the triangle all the way down. So for me, I'll consider something that is from my collarbone here. I want this to sit at my collarbone. So from the collarbone up to where I want my top to stop. So I'm going to keep working row 2 until I have that length, and I'll be back to show you what to do next. Alright guys, now I ended up doing a total of 14 rows of leveling up the sides. I'm counting from this row when I stopped increasing the width of my panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I did 14 rows of leveling up, and if I'm to take a measurement from the top of my triangle all the way down, I have a total of about 12 inches. And in total, if I'm to count from this row here, I have a total of 20 rows right from here, from the base of the top all the way to the top of the triangle. So do what you have to do in order to get the length that you need for your top, from around your, I think, upper bust. Instead of collarbone, consider the upper bust, so that this doesn't go all the way up to the collarbone, because that's not our aim. So at this point, once you get your length, your desired length, you're going to make a chain of 1 and leave a long tail behind, because this is going to be used to attach to our second panel. So you chain 1 and pull through, leaving a long tail behind, as you can see here. Now we're going to go onto our straps. You're going to get your yarn and attach it at the top of the triangle. We're going to create straps. So in order to do that, you're going to attach your yarn in this. Make sure you're working in the opposite direction of the previous row, so that we keep the flow of the pattern. So you're going to attach your yarn in this third double crochet here. Attach your yarn there and make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Now you're going to go into the chain 2 space with a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And then just like that, you're going to skip over the next 2 double crochets, and into the next double crochet you're going to place a double crochet there. That is row 1 of the strap. Row 2, you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work, and you're going to go into the chain 2 space with a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And then you're going to skip over the next 3 double crochets and double crochet on top of the last chain 3 of the previous row. So this is what you'll have. You're going to repeat this until you have your desired length from where your top stopped until the top of your shoulder. For me, this is going to be a total of around 6 rows. So chain 3, turn. This is row 3. Shell into the chain 2 space, and then 1 double crochet on top of the last chain 3 of the previous row. So let me just keep repeating that row until I have my 6 rows, or whatever number of rows that you need for your strap, until the top of your shoulder. All right, so I have my 6 rows of the strap, as you can see here, from the time that I attached my yarn here. I have 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. And if I'm to take a measurement for those people who may not be having the same yarn or tension as mine, this measures about 4 inches without stretching, but when stretched it goes to about 4.5 to 5 inches, as you can see here, around 4.5 inches. So that's the length that I have for my strap. And then we're going to clean up this edge. In order to get a flat edge, you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work, and then you're going to go into the first stitch, that double crochet, and place a half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and then 1 in the next, slip stitch into the next stitch, just like that, and then skip over the chain 2 space and slip stitch into the next double crochet, and then single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then half double crochet on top of the last chain 3 of the previous row. So this is what we have. We've tried to make the boundary flat. At this point you can make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail for attaching, and then pull through. So this is what we have, guys. We are now going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process for our second strap. You can see how our first strap looks like. Just rewind the video and make the second strap the same exact way we've done this one. Alright guys, once you're done with the straps on both sides, you're going to have something that looks like this. These are the straps that are going to be either at the front or the back of the piece. I'm saying that because we are going to make an identical piece, exactly the same as this, so that we can have 2 pieces. Now, mine is here. You can see how identical it is to what we did in the first place. So make sure the same measurements, the same exact number of rows, the same exact number of rows for the straps as well. And now it's time for us to join everything together. So just go ahead and make an identical piece to what we have here. So to join our pieces together, I'm going to first attach the straps, as you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the tails that we left behind in order to attach the straps. I think this darning needle has a very big eye, so I'll be replacing it with a much smaller darning needle so that it doesn't open up the stitches wide. So let me go ahead and have a replacement for the darning needle. Alright guys, so I'll be using this darning needle instead of the one with a big eye, and I'm going to just use the tail that I left behind to attach our pieces together. So thread your darning needle and then join stitch to stitch. So into the half double crochet stitch, you attach 2 times just to secure your yarn in the beginning of the joining of the panels, and then go into the single crochet stitches, and then into the slip stitches. This is the first slip stitch, and then the second one. Just do what you have to do in order to align your work and make sure it's neat and the stitches are matching on both sides. Okay, so in the last stitch, I'll also attach 2 times just to secure my yarn a little bit more. And at this point, you can feel free to use your darning needle to weave in this tail, or even just make a knot, because now we have 2 loose ends at the same point. You can just make a knot, a double knot, to secure your yarn even further, and then you can go ahead and weave in these tails in and out of a few stitches to secure it even more, just like that. Just go back and forth into several stitches, and then you can cut your yarn at this point, and then thread your second tail into your darning needle and weave it in as well. So I'll weave this in on this side of the top. Make sure whatever you do, you try to keep the neatness of the piece. Try to protect the neatness of the piece. So once you're done with this, this is what we are going to have. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing on the second side, so that our straps on this side are also joined perfectly well, like what we have on this side. Alright guys, this is what everything looks like after attaching both sides of the straps. And now you're going to go ahead, and we shall weave these in later on. These are not essentials. You're going to determine which side you want to be the back side of your work. For me, I don't know, whichever can be the back side or the front side of my work, because I try to make sure that my work is as neat as possible on both ends. So you're just going to fold over your work like this, so that we can start attaching the sides of the top. So just like we have here, remember that very long strand that we left behind, we're going to use it at this point so that we can join the side of the top. So just fold over your work into half, and now we're going to go to the side. Make sure you folded your work onto the wrong side of your top, because when it comes to this attaching, it's going to show a bump, a single crochet bump along the seam line of the single crochet row. So you're going to insert your hook and yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to go onto the side, placing 2 single crochets in each and every row. Make sure the single crochets are not very tight. Just give yourself some grace and don't over pull on the single crochet stitches. Go into each and every row of each panel with 2 single crochets, attaching both panels together. So we've started from the armpit area and we are running all the way down to the base of the top, placing 2 single crochets in each and every row while attaching the panels together on the side. So this is the same line that's going to run on the side of your top along the armpit line. That's the same line that's going to be created. If I do like this, you can see the bump, and this one is going to be on the wrong side of our work. And when you come to the end here, you're going to go into the chain 4 space and the space here between the last 3 double crochets and the last double crochet here. So into that space and place 1 single crochet, and then you can make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. Just pull through, and this is what our seam line looks like. The reason why I told you to give yourself some grace while working this row or while working the attachment is so that we don't distort the shape of the top. If you crochet tightly or your tension is very tight, you may also consider going a hook size up when joining along this line. If you feel like you can't control the tension with the current hook that you used for the project, you can go a hook size up so that you can kind of loosen up your tension while attaching the 2 panels together. So this is what we have on the side, and we're going to do the same exact thing on this side so that we can have a functional top. Guys, look at this beautiful piece. I'm really pleased with how everything is working out. Now, when it comes to the front side or the right side of the top, this is how the seam line is going to look like. You can see it's blending in so well with the stitch. It looks very matched up, if you know what I mean. It looks very, very blended in. So we're going to go ahead and still keep our work on the wrong side and go ahead and join the second side of the top right from the top here and go all the way down until the base of the top, and I'll meet you back when I have that ready. Alright guys, now that we are done joining the sides of our top, let's flip it over onto the right side and see what we have. So when you turn your work onto the right side, you'll notice a sort of like bump on the sides. You can go ahead and block your work if you wish. And guys, look at this beautiful piece. I think I'm only left with the final touches, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and weave in all my tails so that I don't have these loose ends hanging around my top, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. So you're going to flip your work onto the wrong side and then weave in all the tails. Alright guys, after weaving in all your ends, I can gladly say that we are done with the general structure of the top. I'm not going to be placing anything on the top edges of the top, but I'll be creating a bottom edge of the top simply because I'm not liking the look at the base of the top. But when it comes to the top part, I don't want to tamper with the stretch of the top. And I just think the Granny Stitch has done a great job at already creating that detailed edging with those little loops. And yeah, I'm going to just leave it as simple as this. But when it comes to the bottom part, I'm going to be creating cute scallops. That is my signature look. For those people who have been around long enough, you know that I usually put scallops on my edges of my crochet pieces. So we're going to turn our work onto the bottom side, and we're going to attach our yarn in any row. I'm going to attach here in this row. Just create a slip knot and attach your yarn in any row. So after attaching your yarn, you're going to go into the same exact space with a single crochet and then make a chain of 3, and into the same row you're going to place a total of 3 more double crochets. All right, after your 3 double crochets, you're going to go into the next row with 1 single crochet and then single crochet into the next row, and then make a chain of 3 and 3 more double crochets into the same row, 1, 2 and 3, and then single crochet into the next row and single crochet into the next. So this is going to create these cute little scallops at the base of our top. Chain 3, 3 more double crochets into the same row, and then single crochet into the next row and single crochet into the next row. That's all. So you can see the effect that's being created on this side as opposed to just leaving it bare. It's already making a difference and also looking much more finished. So you're going to do that all the way around, creating these cute little scallops or creating an edging for your top and making it look much more professional as well as finished. And I'll meet you back at the beginning of the round when I'm through with my little scallops on the bottom edge of the top. All right, so we're coming to the end of the round and I've just placed my last scallop here. I'm going to go into the next row with 1 single crochet, and then the next row is the one that starts the next scallop. So I'll go into the first single crochet before I created the first scallop, and I'll place a slip stitch. Insert your hook and pull through all. Now I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. I think at this point, these are the only loose ends I'll have on my top. Remember, we've already gotten rid of all the loose ends on our top. So at this point, I'm going to just make a double knot with the tail that I left behind while starting the scallop row and the loose end that is created at the end of the row. So after tying, you're going to cut off the excess yarn. And this is basically what we have. You can see there is an improvement when it comes to the base of the top as opposed to what we had before when we didn't clean up the edge, the bottom edge of the top. I hope this kind of answered your questions for those people who wanted to create something that has a coverage at the back as well. Now we're going to go on to our next step. This is totally optional. If you don't want to do it, don't. But I'm going to go ahead and do it to differentiate the front side from the back side of the top. So you're going to grab your yarn. All right, so you're going to get your yarn and you're going to identify the back side of your top. Let me say this is the back side of my top, this side. Now you're going to attach your yarn in a way that you're working in the opposite direction of this row. So you're going to attach your yarn in this space before the first row of the strap. That's where you're going to attach your yarn, in that chain 1 space, or you can even go into that stitch that has that very first row of the strap. just go into that stitch and attach your yarn. Remember, you should be working in the opposite direction of this row, this one here. Now attach your yarn and you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. And then you're going to skip over the next 3 double crochets and go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that until you're almost in the middle. So you're going to do that until you get to the chain 1 space right before the 6 double crochets in the middle of the back section, just like we've been doing before. So once you get to this point, you're not going to make a chain of 1 here. You're just going to cross over, skip over the next 6 double crochets, and into the next chain 1 space, you're going to place 3 double crochets. So just like that, we've crossed over to our second half of the back panel. So chain 1, double crochet 3 times into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, double crochet 3 times into the next chain 1 space. You're going to do that until you place 3 double crochets into the last chain 1 space before the strap. So just like that, we've placed 3 double crochets here. So into this stitch, remember there's a chain 1 space here, make sure you don't go into it. So after your 3 double crochets here, you're just going to go into this stitch here where you placed the first stitch of the strap and place a double crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. So that way we are just trying to cover up this space for those people who want to create that sort of flat edge so that it doesn't look like you can wear the top either at the front or the back, so that we don't have any sort of confusion. So after you make your chain of 3, you're going to skip over the next 3 double crochets and double crochet 3 times into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So you can see how we are leveling up the back side of the top, and you'll see the effect later on. So continue to do that until you place 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space before the middle 6 double crochets of the back panel. So after this, you're going to just cross over directly, skip over the 6 double crochets and 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, just like that. Then make a chain of 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So you're going to do that until you place 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space before the last chain 3, as you can see. So you skip over the 3 double crochets and into that space, the chain 3 space, you're going to place a double crochet there. Then make a chain of 3 and turn your work. So that's the row that we are going to keep repeating, and your rows are going to become shorter and shorter as you keep working this row. Chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Repeat that until you have your middle 6 double crochets. Cross over to the next chain 1 space on the opposite side or the second half of the back panel and place 3 double crochets there. This is what we have: chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that until you place 3 double crochets in the last chain 1 space of the row, and then skip over the last 3 double crochets and double crochet into the last chain 3 space, and then make a chain of 3, turn your work. So you can see how our rows are becoming shorter and shorter. So 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space, and this time this is the chain 1 space right before the 6 middle double crochets of the back panel. So after these 3 double crochets, I'm going to cross over to the second half of the back panel and place my 3 double crochets on this side as well, and just like that, you're going to go into the last chain 3 space of the row of the previous row, and this is what your work will look like. And now you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. This time around, you're going to skip over all the 6 double crochets. You're going to keep working that row until you only have the middle 6 double crochets. So when you make your chain of 3, you're going to go into the last chain 3 space of the previous row and make a slip stitch. From here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So let's see the effect that that has created for our top. Remember, this has been worked on the back side of our top. And now we have a distinct difference between the back panel and then the front panel. So you can see the front creates a V-neck, but the back creates a flat edge. And you can even wear it the other way around. You can choose to have a flat edge at the front of your top, and then you have the V shaping at the back of your top. That's totally up to you, because if you choose that, you're going to have something that looks like this at the front of your top. It will create some sort of halter shaping of the top. You can even go ahead and repeat this same exact process that we just did on this side as well, and fill up that gap in case you don't want the V shaping on any side of your top. And now I'm going to just go ahead and weave in the tails that I've just created. This project has so many tails to deal with, but the patience is all worth it. I feel like it's a simple top, straightforward, and it's something that is decent and wearable. So just go ahead and weave in all your tails in case you have any. I have this one tail left behind, and I'm going to weave it in. Okay. All right. So that is basically it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and I can't wait to see the recreations of this design on your end. You can play around with colors so that you can have some stripes on this beautiful vest. You can go ahead and wear your bra comfortably well, or a vest inside this crochet top, and you'll be good to go. Imagine a black contrast. Just imagine that. It will still look classy. So go ahead and use as many colors as you wish and play around with many tones or shades of colors to get different effects for your top. And I hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to check out the written pattern on all my online shops. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.